I want us to read again verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. When you sit at the table, you are relaxed. It's a safe space, right? And you are fed, your stomach gets full. When we sit at God's table, our hearts also get full, not just our stomachs, and also not just our minds. God fills our whole being, our spirit, our body, our mind, everything. It speaks of His provision. But the verse also says that the table is in the presence of our enemies. That means that the circumstances around the table, around the provision, are not necessarily safe and comfortable. But God is there. He doesn't leave you alone in the difficult circumstances. I want to share with you of my difficult circumstances and how the Lord carried us as a family through that. This portion of my story starts 4 years ago. It was 2020 and we had the COVID pandemic, which you also experienced, yeah? I was pregnant with my second child at that time, which obviously it's not a great time to be with child when there's a pandemic going on. When my son was born, he was very ill. He spent a week in the intensive care unit and he nearly died, but he's okay now. He's fine. In that time, because of the pandemic, my husband's work also reduced his salary. And because I was not working full-time at the time, our finances were difficult. Some months we were not sure how we would pay our bills and eat in the same month. But the Lord provided. I also, when my second child was very small, contracted COVID and tick bite fever at the same time. So I was very ill. And in that time, my father-in-law also passed away from cancer. As you can see, it was a difficult time. All of this happened within the space of 1 year. And in that time, my husband and I were not in unity. Even though the Lord was looking after us in that time, we did not experience God's joy in the provision. But then a very dear lady spoke to me. She had a word from the Lord. And she said that my husband and I, we must fight for unity. The word says unity commands a blessing. And I can testify to that. When we started walking in unity together, we experienced unity from God as well. Our circumstances didn't change immediately, but we changed. We experienced joy in God's provision, even in the middle of the really, really difficult times. In that time, we prayed to God. We experienced that He told us to move to a different part of our city. And we said, Lord, we would love to go, but we can't afford it. Our finances are not good. But we felt that He said we must go. We trusted in God, and He provided us with a place to stay in the new part of the city. We prayed about our financial situation as well, and the Lord provided me with a job. And our financial situation changed then, but it was still a difficult time. In that time, we had, in our extended family, many accidents. A tree fell on my father, and he broke his back. He was supposed to die in that accident, but he didn't, and he's able to walk again today. My mother-in-law had a mental breakdown, and in that time she needed special care. But because the Lord had provided us with a different home, we were able to provide her with that care. And my sister-in-law also needed a place to stay, and because we had the new home, we had space for them. The Lord knew the difficulties that were coming, and in that time, my sister also gave birth, and she became very ill, and she nearly died in the process. But God provided for us. He knew what was coming, and He healed her. And through this very difficult time, when we started walking in unity with God, we were able to find true joy in the process. Despite the difficult circumstance, we were sitting at God's table in the presence of our enemies. And I want to encourage you with this as well. The Lord knows your circumstance. He knows the difficult things that you are facing, and He has prepared a table for you in the middle of your very difficult circumstances. Each of our circumstances are different, but God is the same. He will not change. He says in His word, in Isaiah 26, verse 3 to 4, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever. For the Lord Himself, is the rock eternal. I want to invite you, if you don't know Jesus yet, please give your heart to Him. Only He can carry you through the very difficult circumstances. And if you already know Jesus, and you have difficulty in your life, I want to invite you. Please come that we may pray with you. We serve the same Jesus, and the way He healed my heart and He provided for my family in all aspects of our lives, He can do for you too.